Last time on Dawn of the Zeds, rumors had been circulating in the refugee camp. There was talk of a journal that had been left in East Irick that had something to do with the Zeds outbreak. Bouncing Betty was aware of the rumors, and she went to East Irick to investigate. After clearing the village of Zeds activity, she began to scour the area to see if the rumors were true. Soon after, she found Dr. Martus's journal. It contained two very important pieces of information. First was how to dispose of super Zeds. Second was contact information about a scientist named Agent Wright. This discovery has proven to be the most significant event since the appearance of the Zeds. The Zeds have made their most significant gains on the highway track. They've captured the village of Ingeborg and the nuclear plant. But Colonel Kingman and the Farmingdale Furies have set up a little surprise for the advancing Zeds on Interstate 1. They've managed to construct defensive positions with the hope of stopping their advance in its tracks. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me for our playthrough of Dawn of the Zeds, 3rd edition. We're ready to begin a new round, and we'll start by drawing an event card. And the event reads, Disaster at the Labs. We'll begin with a 4-hour phase. We have one action available. However, we have no raiders, rangers, refugees, or rescuers to move. We'll move on to our infection phase, and with the appearance of the infected vermin on the highway track, the infection level will rise by 1. We'll need to make a 2d6 roll. Roll is a 10, and there'll be no additional outbreak at this time. During the eat phase, we're required to roll a die, but there are no refugees in the camp and no patients at the Farmingdale General Hospital. We'll move on to the Zeds phase. Zeds will be activating 3 times, once on the highway track and twice in the tunnels. A powerful 10-point Zeds mob in the nuclear plant attempts to move to Interstate 2. Colonel Kingman is going to attempt to use his defensive perimeter ability to stop them. However, his roll is a 3 and his defensive efforts are in vain. 10-point Zeds mob moves into Interstate 2. And along with them, 2-point Zeds unit in Ingeborg and the infected vermin move closer to town center. In the tunnels, very weak group of Zeds in the catacombs at Red Labs 3 attempt to move to the security guard post. Rolls a 5, and the mindless Zeds move in circles in the catacombs and remain where they are. 5-point strength Zed, the catacombs at Red Labs 5 attempt to move to Dr. Martus's office. Rolls a 5, and they're going to remain where they are. A 5-point Zed in back of them in Red Lab 6 moves into the catacombs, creating a powerful 10-point Zeds mob. The tunnel track will activate again. The Zeds in Red Labs 3 in the catacombs will attempt to move into the security guard post. Once again, the mindless zombies are unable to find their way out of the maze of the catacombs. Now the powerful 10-point Zed mob at Red Labs 5 is attempting to leave the catacombs there and enter Dr. Martus's office. The Zeds mob is able to make its way into Dr. Martus's office moving ever closer towards the town center. It's now our action phase. We're going to have 2 actions available to us. It says at the beginning of this phase, roll a die. Roll is a 1, and we're going to be adding a random early research card to the top of the research deck. We'll begin in St. Thomas, where Sheriff Hunt is going to use his leadership ability to encourage the civilians to forage for supplies. But the roll is a 2, and their efforts are in vain. Mr. Johnson, at the Lucky Strike mine, is going to use an action, and he's going to attempt to forage for ammunition. His roll is a 4 and a 5 that allows him to find 2 points of ammo, raising our ammo supply to 3. Mr. Johnson has received word that a large group of Zeds are approaching Lefty's Pass. He uses an action to move to the location to bolster the defenses. Finally, using our player action token, Mr. Johnson activates again using his heavy weapons ability, and he'll attempt to make a gunfire attack on the 6th strength Zed approaching the village from Trail 6. Roll is a 7. He inflicts 2 hits on approaching Zeds. His accurate gunfire reduces the numbers so that the Zeds are now at a strength of 4. With all our actions spent, we'll move on to our housekeeping phase. And our next event is Brains. The infection level is going to rise by 4, moving it up to a very dangerous level of 11. All tracks will activate with each Zeds unit advancing 1 space only. However, if a Zeds unit activation results in a combat that it wins, it immediately advances again. Repeat as necessary. After activating all Zed units, this special turn is over. Draw the next event card. We'll begin by activating the Forest Track, and a 6th strength Zed in Route 5 enters St. Thomas. Sheriff Hunt steps to the front as he defends St. Thomas from the zombies. Civilians lose their Defiant ability. The hand-to-hand combat begins with Zed's advantage, 6 to 5, but the defenses of the village will give us a 1-column shift, and we'll be using the equal to column. Roll is an 11. Sheriff Hunt inflicts 3 hits on the attacking zombies, but he takes 1 hit in the process. Sheriff Hunt is tough, and he'll be able to roll a die to see if he can cancel the hit that he took. His roll is a 5, and he'll take no damage from this encounter. The zombies will retreat back to Route 5, but the infection level will rise to 12. A 5-strength Zed unit from Route 6 moves into Route 5, creating a 9-point Zed mob. Citizens of St. Thomas will have their work cut out for them next time. In the suburbs, 7-point Zed's mob from 6th Street moves into East Irick, which is defended by Bouncing Betty. Bouncing Betty's ruthless ability will allow her to roll on the human ×3 column. She rolls poorly, it's a 3, inflicting 2 hits to the Zeds, but she takes a hit in the process. The Zeds retreat to 6th Street, raising the infection level to 13, and we're going to have a uncontrolled outbreak. Bouncing Betty's heedless ability will kick in, and she is going to pursue the zombies into 6th Street. Now we resolve the uncontrolled outbreak Roll is a 4, and the infection rate only drops to 9. Fated track is where there's most chaos. A man with no name, hold for later. East Clintwood emerges from the shadows to assist you before disappearing once again. Play this card at the beginning of any hand-to-hand combat for a one-time 3-column shift to the right. And a Where Zeds appears at the nuclear plant on the highway track. Betty pursues the Zeds into 6th Street, raising the infection level to 10, and now a wounded Betty will attack them using human ×2 column. She inflicts 3 hits on the Zeds. It takes 1 hit in the process. She's, for the time being, knocked out. We'll make a saving roll to determine her fate. Roll is a 4, and she's going to be appearing at the Farmingdale General Hospital in critical condition. And we all wish Betty a speedy recovery. Now on the tunnel track, zombies in Red Labs 3 once again attempt to make their way to the security guard post. Rolls a 3, and they've found their way towards the security guard post. The 3-strength security guard unit step to the defense, and he'll be rolling on the human ×3 column. Rolls an 8, and the security forces easily defend the guard post, slaughtering the zombies. But as the security forces deal with one threat, a new one emerges as a powerful 10-strength Zed mob moves from Dr. Martus's office into the catacombs of Red Labs 3. Now on the highway track, a powerful 10-point Zeds mob in Highway 1 attempts to move into the space with Colonel Kingman and the Farmingdale Furies. Colonel Kingman will employ his defensive perimeter ability. However, once again, his rolls a 4, and his efforts are ineffective. 10-strength Zed mob attacks the Farmingdale Furies. They'll be using the Zed's advantage column, but the defenses that were prepared will shift it 2 columns to the right, giving us human advantage. Rolls an 8, and that will inflict 3 hits on the Zeds mob, but the Farmingdale Furies will take some casualties. The brave stand by the Furies denies the Where Zeds from access to Interstate 2. However, a small Zeds unit will move into the nuclear plant, creating a Zeds mob with the Where Zeds, and the infected vermin follow close behind. And finally, on the mountain track, a damaged 4-point Zed on Trail 6 approaches the defenses of Lefty's Pass. And once again, Mr. Johnson is pressed into service. The attack will begin on the Zed's advantage column, but the defenses will shift us 2 to the right, giving us human advantage. But this time, Mr. Johnson is not as successful as he hasn't been in the past. He inflicts 1 hit on the zombies, but he takes 3 to himself in the process. We'll make a saving throw for Mr. Johnson to see if he lives or dies. Roll is a 5, and Mr. Johnson will be taken to the Farmingdale General Hospital in critical condition. He's still alive. But the other people of Lefty's Pass are forced to retreat, and the civilians unit moves to the Lucky Strike mine. The once defiant villagers now become refugees and move to the Lucky Strike mine, seeking safety. The zombies move into Lefty's Pass, and chaos ensues. That brings that special turn, Brains, to a close. We'll move on with a new event. The event is entitled Research Discovery. We have 1 activation on our 4 Rs. That will allow us to move our fleeing refugees from Trail 4 to Trail 3 on the mountain track. Now with our infection phase, the infected vermin will raise the infection level to 13 and we will have an uncontrolled outbreak. Roll is an 8, and it moves the infection level down to a moderate level of 5. The fated track is player's choice, and that's where a Super Zeds will appear. Fate card is Cooked Books. Farmingdale's comptroller, John Stengel, discovers the resources are missing. Roll a die for supplies, and then roll for ammo. Results of his audit are not good. All of the supplies and all of the ammunition are gone. Mercifully, no penalty is applied if we don't have enough of those amounts to cover the shortfall. Both tracks are moved to 0. We select the Suburbs track and a 7-point Super Zeds appears, and it's a Berserker Zed. These Zeds are relentless, wild-eyed, and totally predictable in their tenacity. If the Berserker Zeds unit attacks and wins, it immediately advances another space. Repeat as necessary, in the same manner as all Zeds during a Brains event. In effect, this unit is a permanent quest for brains. Fortunately, the zeal of the Berserkers have for brains does not extend to other Zeds. If it is part of a Zed's mob, it splits off from the mob for any additional movement, leaving the other Zeds behind as it advances. We move on to the Eat phase, and we're required to consume one supply, which we do not have. One of our units will need to take a hit, and we'll place that on the civilians unit in the town center. We desperately need supplies and ammunition. Now the highway track will activate, and a powerful 8-point Zeds mob from Interstate 2 will attack Colonel Kingman and the wounded Farmingdale Furies. Colonel Kingman attempts to use his defensive perimeter ability, but his roll is a 2 and he fails again. Once again, the Farmingdale Furies step to the forefront. Combat is 8-6, and that is Zed's advantage, but the prepared defenses will move us to human advantage. Roll is a 5, and both sides are going to take 2 wounds. The zombies will retreat, but the Farmingdale Furies are in trouble. Now the Zeds unit is going to move forward into Interstate 2. Colonel Kingman will once again attempt to use his defensive perimeter to halt their advance. His roll is a 5, and he's successful. The Zeds move back to the nuclear plant, unable to make any progress forward. The infected vermin move from Interstate 4 to the nuclear plant, ending the Zeds' turn. We move on to our activation phase. We're going to have a total of 2 actions, and it says at the end of this phase, if a player unit is in the university space, turn over the next card in the research deck for free. Place the goodies marker in this space as a reminder. All right. And it just so happens we have a civilians unit in the Farmingdale University, so as long as they don't move from that location, we'll be able to claim the research. Begin our actions phase with Sheriff Hunt using his leadership ability to inspire the civilians to forage. They roll a 6, and they're able to acquire some ammunition, raising us from 0 to 1 on the track. We'll spend one of our activations to activate Special Agent Wright in the town center, and she is going to conduct foraging. Sadly, her efforts prove less than stellar, and she fails to find anything. Agent Wright is going to make another attempt at foraging, using up our last of our event actions. Mercifully, she rolls a 4, and we find 1 supply. Good job. Finally, we're going to use a player action token at the Farmingdale General Hospital, and we're going to stabilize Bouncing Betty. And her healing will move the infection track down 1 to 4. And that'll conclude our action phase, but our civilians unit at the university is going to claim that goodies token. That's going to allow them to turn over the next card in the research deck. That card is revealed to be Zeds Jerky. It's going to gain us 2 well-needed supplies, raising our supplies up to 3. Animals attacked by Zeds that escaped and did not turn were deemed uninfected and safe to eat by scientists. These poor survivors were quickly scavenged by hungry locals for protein. The most popular new food item is seasoned meat strips dubbed Zeds Jerky. That's going to conclude our action phase, and we'll move on to our housekeeping phase and then a new round. And our next event card brings some good news on the horizon. It's titled A Hero Arrives. We'll begin with our 4R phase that allows us 2 activations that will allow our fleeing refugees from Trail 3 to move to the campground. Our infection level is at 4, but the infected vermin will raise that to a 5, and we'll have to roll for infection. Roll is a 7, and we'll have no outbreak this turn. We'll need to roll a d6 for our eat phase, and we have 2 patients in the Farmingdale General Hospital. Roll is a 2, and the patients will consume 1 supply, moving us down to 2. Zeds will activate on the Forest Track, Suburbs Track, and the Highway Track. Powerful 9-point Zeds mob in Route 5 is going to attack St. Thomas. And Sheriff Hunt will once again step to the front to defend the town. We begin the hand-to-hand combat, 9 to 5, which is going to be Zed's advantage. And the defenses of St. Thomas will move that 1 column to the equal 2 column. Sadly, the roll is a 3, and Sheriff Hunt is going to take 3 hits. But Sheriff Hunt is skilled in martial arts, and that's going to allow him to re-roll the dice. This time the roll is an 8, and he's going to inflict 2 hits on the zombies, but he's going to take 1 in his defense. But Sheriff Hunt is tough. He rolls a 6, and he avoids any damage in the hand-to-hand combat. The Zeds retreat back to Route 5. Now the Suburbs Track activates. We have a damaged 3-point Zed moving from 6th Street into East Irick. And once again, chaos ensues in the village of East Irick. And a very strong 7-point Berserker Super Zeds moves from the start space to 6th Street. Now the highway track will activate, and a damaged 5-point strength Z unit in Interstate 2 is going to attack the Farmingdale Furies and Colonel Kingman. Colonel Kingman is going to attempt to use his defensive perimeter ability to halt their advance. He rolls a 6, and his efforts are successful. The Zeds unit remains in Interstate 2. At the nuclear plant, aware Zeds attempts to move into Interstate 2, and once again, Colonel Kingman is going to attempt to employ his defensive perimeter to stop them. This time his efforts against the Super Zed are unsuccessful. The Were Zed will move into Interstate 2, and now it attempts to enter the space where Colonel Kingman is positioned. Once again, he will attempt to employ his defensive perimeter, but his efforts are unsuccessful. The Were Zed will attack Colonel Kingman and the Farmingdale Furies. As the Were Zeds are about to launch their attack, a man with no name steps into the path of the coming Zeds and shouts out, "Make my day." East Clintwood emerges from the shadows to assist you before disappearing once again. Play this card at the beginning of any hand-to-hand combat for a one-time 3 shift to the right. Were Zeds attack the Farmingdale Furies 5-3, that would be Zed's advantage. We're going to gain 2-column shift for the defenses and a 3-column shift for the man with no name, giving us a human times 3-column roll. Roll is a 4. It's going to inflict 2 hits on the Were Zeds, forcing them back. But the Farmingdale Furies are going to take a hit, and we'll have to find out their fate with a saving roll. Somehow the Furies have survived. They're taken to the Farmingdale General Hospital in critical condition. Colonel Kingman stands alone now in Interstate 1. The attack of the Were Zeds raises the infection level by 2. We're now at 7. And now, the infected vermin, currently at the nuclear plant, move to Interstate 2 as they press on towards the town center. That completes the Zeds phase, and we'll move on to our action phase. We have 2 actions. And our event reads, at the beginning of this phase, place a new random available hero in either the town center or any start space. That is great. And with a sigh of relief, Deputy Schmidt appears at the town center, ready for action. We'll begin with Sheriff Hunt in St. Thomas, and he's going to use his leadership to encourage the civilians to forage for badly needed supplies. Unfortunately, the roll is a 3, and their efforts come up short. The newly arrived Deputy Schmidt springs into action and uses his personal initiative to forage for supplies at the town center. Unfortunately, he rolls a 3, and his efforts are in vain. Deputy Schmidt activates in the town center, using 1 action and attempting to forage for supplies. The roll is a 3, and she's unsuccessful too. Not wanting to be stopped, Special Agent Wright spends another action and attempts another forage attempt in the town center. This time her efforts are rewarded with a supply, moving us up to a total of 3. Deputy Schmidt uses the player action token, and that's going to activate him for movement. He has a move value of 4. He's going to move to Interstate 1, assist Colonel Kingman in the defense of that location. Colonel Kingman is very happy to see some support from the local law enforcement. And that's going to exhaust all of our actions. We'll move on to our housekeeping phase, resetting all of our tokens and getting ready for another round. And I think we're going to end our video here. We'll need some time to study this from a tactical standpoint. It's reaching a very critical point in the game. Zombies have made great efforts on the highway track, and they're threatening in the tunnels and threatening somewhat on the forest track. Sheriff Hunt has been of great service in St. Thomas, and he's managed to hold all efforts on the forest track back. But But our main problem is on the highway track. And we'll have to see what we can do about this. We're struggling with lack of supplies and ammunition. So until next time, thanks for joining me at the Solo Gamers Club. I hope to see you for our 4th installation of our playthrough of Dawn of the Zeds. Thanks very much for watching, and have a nice evening.